Penguin Random House Audio presents The Invisible World, a novel by Nora Fussner. Read for you by Samantha Desz, with Pete Cross, Vas Eli, Cynthia Farrell, Adam Verner, and Jesse Vilinsky. Question: what is the night? Answer: it's breaking the same heart eternally. What is death? Traveling throughout the world with your eyes closed. What is dreaming? A great burst of light right in the heart. What is desire? A wonderful catastrophe. What's life? It's desire eating the world. Anonymous from a surrealist game. Day 1. There came a moment in every ride when the crew fell silent, the name-calling and conspiracy theorizing tapering off as the van's occupants turned to the windows and the undistinguished beauty of the towns they were passing through. As a group, they had been as far north as Maine and as far south as the Carolinas. While the more unusual scenery, the Connecticut coastline, for instance, surprising first for its existence, then for its interminableness, might have inspired contemplation among the crew, it was the small towns that most often urged silence. Those little hamlets and villages that looked the same in each state. Just a mile or two from the van's destination, marked by white signs, these were towns of clapboard houses close to the road, worn libraries, accountants and orthodontists, parking lots just 4 cars wide, small parks with World War II memorials, hair salons with posters fading to blue in the windows, that one spot on the corner perpetually available to rent. Sure, some had a preponderance of seafood restaurants, others antique stores. No one in the car, not even the most city boosterish among them, would claim that all of small-town America was exactly the same. But overall, these towns had more in common with one another than they did with the major cities of their own states. What quieted the TV crew was not the town's paucity of services, but their sense of contentment in the face of such deprivation. The van typically held 5 to 7 men, Brooklyn and Queens dwellers all, who were accustomed to tie delivery until 11:30 p.m., dropping their laundry off and picking it up in order to spend their free time discussing Korean films over hops-heavy microbrews in clean but divey bars, in which any patron sitting nearby might overhear and understand their references. The towns the show landed in existed without hybrid pastries and taxis summoned via smartphone. They were practically the wilderness for their lack of convenience, and yet they had enough for the people who resided in them, and cars pulled away from the grocery store onto the road with no air of resignation about the lives they had chosen. Were they really so bored, these men in the car, that anything less than secret pop-up could no longer move them? When the people in these towns had probably eaten at the same diner every Friday for the last 38 years and loved it? But these people weren't happy, the crew managed to remind themselves before resuming their banter, before easing to a stop in front of the house the GPS had been steering them toward. They wanted a change, and that's why they had called a reality show. They had no idea, without the guidance of producers and directors and marketing people from New York, how the hell to make that change happen. Sandra needed only the last few minutes of the 4.5-hour ride from New York to Ninebark to review the episode file. The old white farmhouse that Patrick, her director, pulled up in front of, though not without its charms, was merely this week's set of tasks. She scanned the couple's profile and key words jumped out at her. Shadow figures, objects moving, noises. Enough to put the Hawthorns through the motions. "What did research find on the house?" Sandra asked Patrick, looking through the dossier again. What does it say? Patrick clearly hadn't read it. It doesn't. Patrick shrugged. I guess they didn't find anything. Sandra exhaled in a controlled way. A haunted house without a ghost story was just an assortment of random occurrences. Cabinet doors banging shut for replicable reasons. Temperature fluctuations due solely to drafts. No one would watch a show about that. There had to be something. Ready? Patrick asked, professionally whitened teeth agleam. Let's do this. Sandra got out of the car and walked up to the house. The front door was unlocked, as Sandra so often found them. Hello? Mrs. Hawthorne? A slim woman, dark hair pulled back into a ponytail, bangs faintly sticking to her forehead with sweat, came bouncing down the stairs. It was open. Sandra half apologized. No, we were expecting you. She stuck out her hand. Eve Hawthorne. Eve looked a bit younger than Sandra, which was not the only surprising thing about her. Instead of the frumpy, pleated front pants and kitten sweatshirt Sandra had come to expect from these shoots, Eve wore an oversized, slightly asymmetrical t-shirt over expensive leggings, a luxury athletic brand Sandra herself had coveted. Eve looked like she might have even worked out in them. Sandra said. We spoke on the phone. Meet Searching for the Invisible World. Sandra stepped aside for her crew, a stream of men bearing equipment, muttering among themselves as they set up tripods and lights, scanned for outlets. Eve watched them with a sort of detached fascination, not wincing as many homeowners did when they began taping cords to the floor or roughly handling end tables. Sandra handed Eve a printed copy of the agenda for the week, though she'd emailed it ahead of time, and an FAQ for participants. What to expect when you're expecting a reality show to descend on your home. The show's title was emblazoned across the top of the packet in a ghostly font. Eve gave it a tight smile, then folded it in half. Would you like the tour? She asked. Or should we wait until all this is ready? Sandra pushed herself to smile. I'd love it if you could show me around. The first place we noticed activity was the dining room. Eve held out a hand for Sandra to go in first. Production assistants trooped through the door, carrying blackout drapes to hang over the windows, a curtain against which interviews would be shot. Setup halted upon discovery of the spread that awaited them. Coffee not in boxes from a franchise, but brewed from beans with provenance. Bagels, real ones, not from the grocery store. Pastries dusted with sugar. Rarely was the crew offered more than coffee. Someone had gone out of their way in a town with one grocery store to come up with whitefish spread and bialys. Beyond the table, though, was what interested Sandra. A rumpled dropcloth lay on the floor. A ladder leaned near the window. They'd had months to prepare for the show's arrival, but this room was half-painted, baseboards unsanded, old carpeting torn up and wood floor beneath left splintery. Sandra, against her better judgment, bit. Do you two eat in here? No. Eve tilted her head. Ryan doesn't think it's safe. What does he think could happen? He should probably be the one to tell you that, don't you think? Irritation flashed through Sandra, then cooled. She'd been in television only a few years, but had known them all already. The subject directors, the reluctant confessors, the girls who needed just a tiny bit of liquor to cry. She'd been an ersatz social worker, an emergency babysitter. She'd baked a wedding cake when a caterer got food poisoning. This, taking direction from Eve, was nothing. Do you agree with him? Eve screwed up her eyes.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?